And welcome back. We are jumping right into the action, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going into map 2 between University of South Alabama against Colorado. This time, South Alabama will be the first on defense. Let's see what they can do to try and rectify the situation on Vertigo.
And it's crucial that they get these earlies in there.
Wow, Soju coming out massive, picking up 2 headshots along with Xbox. Jig Jester, though, out for revenge, but one more player going to be jumping out of apartments. Will it be Soju back on track? Try and get that 4K. No, Tiny T will be there for the assist. A great initial defense and a firing squad out for boy Soju.
That was, I'm not going to use the term unexpected because we've talked about how USA has some great moments, especially in those types of gun battles and mechanics. But I did not expect that first round to go quite as fast. So really appreciate the fact that USA is making that statement and trying to put themselves in the best position to ensure that they can get the second map win.
I would say it was also unexpected for Colorado to find themselves in that situation, but now it's quite the opposite. The flood onto site has panned out for them. The bomb is down, and only one player, and make that 2, have fallen for Colorado. This is all but South Alabama's round to win as they're slowly picking apart Colorado in the way that they should if they want to hold on to this defense. And would you look at that, a diffuser on round 2 rather than, what, round... I don't know, 24?
Yes, and luckily everybody on that side getting their defuses, except for Tiny T, who, despite having... Oh, there he is. Good man, good man. And that bomb plant means a round 3 buy from the University of Colorado, so we're going to see if those first 2 rounds were flukes, or if Colorado is just waiting to get the right hardware. And so they're going to go hard towards that A site again with a typical execution. Unfortunately, that volley out with Tiny T is not going to do the job he wanted it to.
Crispy taken out in the blink of an eye, and now Pizio sending out some scout shots, trying to bring down the health, but can't find anything just yet. Will be Pelusia moving back into CT, continuing the onslaught coming out of Colorado. Tiny T either dying to bullet or flames. He will go down. Pelusia making their way through. CT gonna go through into the jungle, into Sniper's Nest. Ultimately, make their way around into Connector to take down Xboth. However, Xboth won't go down without a fight.
That was a surgical comeback round from Colorado to just go super hard, not waiting for anything, just immediately with the smoke executes, changing the pace entirely from where they had been before in that second round, where everything was a little bit slower and felt just like it took forever. So South Alabama is now on their back foot, having to save there, and so we're probably going to see a 2-2 here unless we see some pretty amazing stuff coming out from Soju or Lupicio or maybe even Tiny.
Must not be taken out early. RC rushing through into Connector. Finds one, but doesn't last too long after taking it. Toshi jumping out of apartments and will get that flank onto Xboth. And now Psych Control is all but Colorado's. Make that double Psych Control. They have both of them. And now it's all up to Lapizio holding on to their life. They won't hold on to it for too long.
Colorado again, just aggression, very clean, very precision, very precise in their actions and movements, not giving anything up to the CT side, except for that one kill, which is not much of a consolation when you're just being thoroughly run down. See a little bit of a boost, run boost there to Jig Jester to get him out into that mid area a little bit faster. Colorado changing up their position a little bit to take some of that mid control, and you see a little bit more aggression towards or lurking towards the bomb site on the east side.
Ooh, because he wants to get that initial rush. Xboth and Tiny T ain't gonna let that happen.
The huge early round kills from the CT side there. Not only did they get 2 kills, but they also got the bomb down. So as long as they're not losing this fight in apps between Soju and Aratoshi, unfortunately, is able to take 2 kills. This is falling apart.
The 2 double kills on either side of the map, all up to Tiny T, who finds one and puts himself in a 1v2. But the bomb is on the other side of this map. gonna have to go for that rotation if you want to keep yourself in this game. Tiny T, famously not having a diffuser, doesn't have one in this situation, so he's gonna have to make quick work of both Jig Jester and Eratoshi if he wants to secure this round. It does seem he will be opting for a save.
Smart move. Keep the AK. Keep the dream alive on that site. And it looks like Colorado is not really interested in trying to hunt for it, which, you know, just they're in a pretty good economic position, so it probably doesn't matter either way. And certainly does a little bit more moral defeat on their side if they're able to go for it. But we see USA not able to capitalize on that 5th round, despite some early round success. So these are the kinds of things that we started to see that we hopefully don't see emerge as a pattern, as we did with some of those post-plant situations on Vertigo.
It was a tough situation because Tiny T was completely blindsided with the fact that the bomb was on the opposite side of the map.
We'll see if that kind of plays out the same way here, if they're able to get something. Dealing with just pistols and that single AK is going to be a tough situation for South Alabama to come out victorious. But if they play their angles right, you know, we've certainly seen it before. And I know that they're certainly motivated to make sure that they come back and make sure that Colorado doesn't run around with too much economic victory, because there's just a lot that can happen from that.
Ooh, nice long shot over from Pelusia, from Palace. And it will go down, as well as RC. There goes their one chance at having an AK. Soju, on the other hand, it's a nice 1D, picks up an AK, and then drops it within the same second.
So unfortunately, not a lot to walk away from in terms of, you know, good vibes from USA in that last round, only able to get 1 kill in an economy that's already pretty stacked. So their best bet here is to come into this bye with these rifles, with this counter utility, and really just try to shut down this Colorado early aggression. And if they're able to control the map a little bit more, they're doing so a little bit with those mollies, and then they'll be able to kind of pick apart that, hopefully, and see a success in terms of their round count.
Now, you talk about a weak economy, but what about the vibes economy that we have coming in for South Alabama? And the vibes are starting to feel nice as Lepicio opens it up, taking out Eratoshi. Tiny T will fall over by Connector, so they do have some mid control. However, their grip on apartments and their action over into B from 2 angles has fallen. Jig Jester's looking to capitalize on this push, sending out the nade, putting in some more damage over onto Xbox. However, they will retain their life, and so will Crispy while taking DB cozies. There's one more player that he's spotted out by A-Main, sending out the flash to try and just save their life. Xbox not even expecting player to come down from ladder room, assuming catwalk was completely cleared. Was not the case. Now Jig Jester has the option to move out to B, but the bomb. Where is the bomb at this point? I don't even know. It was in Connector. Crispy stopping that aggression by Ticket Booth. Now Lepicio wanting to collapse on the last 2 players. Doesn't manage to do so. Pelusia and Jig Jester have options here. And it does seem they will exercise their option to move over to B.
South Alabama here is opting for the stay together, you know, live together, die together kind of thing. Not really aware of what's happening on the bomb site, but as they're choosing to get some of this information, they're doing the right thing, right? They want to know where these players are. They're obviously not on the A site, and that timing is just missed. Colorado able to get it down with literally seconds to go now puts South Alabama in that really difficult position of, you know, we should retake this because we have to fight for these rounds, but 2v2 with an HP deficit is a tough place to be in.
Well, when you have AKs at the ready, you want to ensure that you could come out with a win again. You cannot be faced with another save round. The economy and the vibes are hurting for sure for South Alabama, and they need to come out with a win, but they won't. They're going in for another save round, and this is a lesson that South Alabama can take when the plant is taking too long. Assume it's on the other site.
But ultimately coming away with 2 rifles is not the worst outcome that they could have had. I think that they, you know, came into that retake position and said, hey, if they give us something early, we feel confident in 2v1 there. Obviously, they probably are still thinking through some of that PTSD that whether you're thinking about Eritoshi or RC or Pelusia and some of the situations they had on the last map, they know that, you know, one player is enough to take on three. So 2v2 is really tough without some of those early successes. But now Colorado going hard onto the B site, really trying to step up their aggression again.
We have two players waiting for that push. The molly goes down. It doesn't do too much damage. We have Soju waiting for the first player, looking to find some more. Pelusia going to take out another. Pizio is here for the assist. Soju, though, does manage to take out a second, and now it's a 2v2, and the bodies are healthy. Both players coming in away from CT. One on Cat, one on Apartments. I don't know if they're expecting an Apartments play. DB Cozy is sitting in the back by the van, looking in no direction even close to Apartments, but that flash is going to be the signal. It's going to be exactly what DB Cozy needed to get that information, and he puts in damage over onto Drew Crispy, takes him down, and now Tiny T soon to follow.
That's a hard one to lose. You know, you certainly, I feel like they were in a really great position with as that aggression came in. You know, they didn't fall victim to some of the early flashes out of the Apartments area. They were able to get a lot of those trades back and forth, but unfortunately, you just kind of had a little bit of a mismatch with those remaining 2v2 positions in terms of not having really the right utility for the positions they were coming from, and Colorado just kind of feeling it out and knowing where to come from.
Oh no. Actually, wait a minute.
All right.
Yeah. Actually, not too bad. Lepizio going in for some more with the AK. Almost, like, how did that even happen? That round was just so confusing for me. Kobe right onto Drew Crispy from Eritoshi. Viking, what even happened right there?
Just a really great spray control, I guess, from the Deagle over there. You saw a lot of movement from South Alabama, just rushing that mid area, expecting some top mid aggression, as we've seen. They tried some, you know, counter mollies. We saw that awesome collateral kill. They just made it a very quick take moment. Unfortunately, without any armor or really follow up to that. And the round did indeed end with a bang, but not the bang that South Alabama was hoping for.
It could have been worse, though. I think could have been worse considering what they were dealing with going into that round, and now they have the weapons at the ready. The off is in the hands of Lepizio, not dealing with mid. Smoked off. There is one player coming through Palace, and they actually have two ops in hand. They're gonna leave those players by themselves. Is moving on to B, a site they have favored quite a bit. Tiny T removing that Palace player from the equation, and now they have to know. They have to know that they're going over to B, or so we think.
We're about to see if Cozy and Crispy are going to come together. They're flirting with it, and Cozy with that aggression just making huge. But Lepizio with that ob kill is going to put them in a position where Jester is going to know that they're both in that market area. He's going to suss out the cat potentially, but you know, with an op and an AK, this should go for a little bit in favor towards South Alabama, but
and there it is.
Hey, you'll take it, right?
And there it is, South Alabama coming back after quite a long drought of round victories. And add a third one to the board here on round 11, still, or on round 10. Going into round 11, you know, it could be worse based off of what we have seen from South Alabama in Vertigo. You know, they're on track to have more rounds than before. So it's a good improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. The trap that I hope that they don't fall into, and we're seeing it a little bit right now with Xbox, is, you know, they just had that victory. Oof, that flash did not quite go where it was supposed to. But it is really aggressive, so we'll see anything come from it. No, and they lost their only player on site, so it looks like Colorado might get a free plant here.
Oh no, but did one of their players kill themselves there? Did they just commit an unalive?
It seemed that way. I honestly don't know. We just suddenly went from 4 to 3 players with not something in the kill feed. So hard to say. Tough for Soju being trapped in that closet, but still a winnable situation for South out there, able to get some of these early picks. But when you're dealing with Xbox just on a Deagle, it's a tough ask.
It became a lot easier as Tiny T finds one. Tiny T finds a second. Last player's by the ticket booth. He jumps onto this box. He can get the angle. With Xboth coming out with the deagle. Xboth has such a hard job right now. He fakes the defusal and can't get it done. Eratoshi holds it down for Colorado and keeps them looking great here on Mirage.
It's got to be a really frustrating moment for Tiny there. Just, you know, he goes in, he gets that 3K. That last player just sitting there on ticket booth just proved too much to them. But if Xboth, unfortunately, again, we talked about that deagle being a really difficult thing compared to, you know, with the rest of the team on rifles and such, isn't able to get those couple of shots together in order to save his teammate and ultimately the round. So it's a what is happening? Okay, sure. I guess there was some comms not quite coming together there. But it ultimately puts USA in a better position. They still have, you know, 2 players that are just on pistols, so they still have to play this conservatively, and recovering those guns from mid is not going to be an option at this point. But at least they do have, at the moment, numbers advantage, although Eratoshi takes care of that very quickly with minimal damage to himself. Although I guess you can't really say that 78 is not very much, but Tiny, please, buddy. Every HP is precious.
Or no, 9 HP. 9 HP and just toying with the enemy at this point. I really don't know how RC didn't detect Tiny. If not the comms, the jumping should have been the key. Out here with a P250. Nice first frag for, I believe, Soju. Soju definitely in a possibility to pick up a second with DB Cozy on such low HP. The Molly gonna deny him any access to a rifle further in the round, and Jig Jester going around that corner, looking to ensure no one's coming from that angle. That smoke is actually just gonna give him the cover he needed. However, the swing from Jig is going to be too quick for Soju's slow walk in.
And that's really what I was afraid of when we saw that third round one towards the side of South Alabama, because, you know, you feel pressure if you win that you have to buy into that momentum, right? You don't want to win and then have to save. But unfortunately on the CT side, because you have to buy the defuse kit, because the rifles are more expensive, there's just more you have to invest in each round. And it's really easy to get it stuck in this sort of valley where instead of having M4s, you've got FAMASs, or instead of a rifle, you're forced to buy an MP9 or something like that. And we saw that there was the last 2 rounds where we had a mix of rifles and some pistols. And, you know, we saw, I think, pretty conclusive evidence that if we had just a better armament on the side of South Alabama, they could have walked away with potentially both of those rounds.
Crispy with 2 right here. Very nice as the last 2 players are trying to make their way away from mid. It's going to be number 7, DB Cozy, stuck in connector with the op. I want to highlight Tiny T earlier, who just somehow manages to stay alive under the most ridiculous circumstances over in connector. Always finding at least 1 kill. He didn't last too long this time around, but he should not be allowed to live for that long. The Pizio waiting for his target, finds it there. Abdul is over. Now he's waiting for another one. Good round 1 for South Alabama with minimal damage taken toward the economy. You know, Tiny T and Soju both took some hits there, though.
They did indeed, but they put South Alabama in a position where they feel like they can win because they did win. They're still in kind of a weird economic situation where you see the FAMAS and the MP9, exactly what I was just talking about. As opposed to all of the AKs that we're seeing on the side of Colorado. But Crispy immediately trying to take away that man advantage, and Pelusia answering him back immediately, showing again, just that they've got a lot of advantage, regardless of the guns that are in their hands.
Jig Jester putting away the default AK after flexing it on us. They were gonna somehow, in the middle of that, flick back and take out Soju, going through CT. Lepizio coming in here for the op kills to try and open up this site back for South Alabama. Eratoshi on the ticket booth finds 1, finds 2, and let's say he'll find even a 3rd through the smoke. Takes out Tiny T. Now really hurts the chances of South Alabama to come back and win this final round on the first half.
It's unfortunately just been that situation where every time South Alabama has something good going for them, Colorado immediately snuffs out that little spark. And unfortunately, it just put them in this position where they haven't been able to string together more than one win at a time, including even those early rounds after those first two, excuse me. So the challenge that we run into here is now they're looking at a 10-5 in their best case scenario, and that may not be enough to end up in a situation where they can win this map. But Tiny T, playing from that connector position, goes out, gets that RC kill. RC, one of those impact players that we've seen over and over again. Really just, showing that they're able to be aggressive and get some of those things, but getting caught out after trying to go for that rifle is just backbreaker.
Ooh, Pelusia swings or fits right onto Lapizio, who didn't manage to get the spray under control, and actually, all things a headshot onto him. Ratoshi has control of that mid window, and now they gotta know that some players are waiting right on the other side. DB Cozy gets that wallbang onto Soji Xbot, though. Wasn't expecting, or Aratoshi wasn't expecting Xbot to be right there. Oh, no. Oh,
this is looking like it's an 11-4 situation. 2 HP in a dream is a great call out, but not a realistic situation. And Cozy, of course, closes that out to make sure that that is the case. So going on to the T side, Colorado is up 11-4 on their map choice, which is a little bit different than what we've seen in the pattern across some of the others in terms of who wins whose map pick. But this could end up being a situation where South Alabama, if they win this pistol, especially after the convincing one that they had on the first half, it's totally possible to bring back these first couple of rounds and at least put more on the board than they did in Vertigo.
Somehow, some way, a player that has chosen the map they want to play on is finding success on it. Oh, and DB Cozy taking a lot of damage there, but he's sending some right back as South Alabama are trying to make their way here onto site. Lapizio doing work, turning this into a 1-on-2. The plant will be secured, and Jig Jester making their way from Catwalk. Keep in mind, they do have a defuse kit, so this could be a very winnable situation. Opting to run. This could be a bad move if they're not going to swing at the same time. The nade is there. Jig Jester puts in a ton of damage. Lapizio, he's going to lose the duel, and that's going to be Jig Jester winning such a tough round, or what should have been a tough retake due to the over-aggression from Colorado.
Unfortunately, just running into some of those ghosts that haunted them on the T side of Vertigo, just, they had the advantage there. They had, in theory, every advantage that they could have at that point, other than, having all 5 of their players up and running, and just weren't able to collect on that. And obviously there was a really great nade there that made a big impact, but, it's just one of those situations where maybe it's best to just play it more conservatively and just try your best.
Okay, the first kill coming out of Jig Jester. Crispy isn't going to be too happy about that one. Responds with 2 in kind, and now there are some players backing off from jungle. 1 through connectors. After the flash, it's RC swinging out, sends out a nade as well, goes to the top of the stairs, tries to find the shot, but he cannot. Now Aratoshi and DB Cozy make their way from CT, jumping onto the ticket booth. He's gonna get some damage over onto Lapizio with the MP9, and it takes him down. Crispy hanging out in dark, finds one, but now Tiny T all alone manages 1 kill with the Galil, but it isn't enough. Zard C trades him out. That's round, or 13 rounds over for Colorado.
It's such a disheartening thing to see that over and over again, because you can tell that South Alabama is just getting these bursts of life, whether it's at the beginning of the round or as they get through it, where they're having the right level of aggression. The aim is on point. They're getting the angles, but then they get that bomb down, and suddenly they just kind of lose track of, what that sense of purpose is. And as a result of that, you're just, seeing the calm, collected heads of Colorado prevail each time. So we went from a situation that in both of those rounds could have related in South Alabama victories, and now instead of 6-11, they're 4-13.
Multiple. Oh no! Where did that flame kill even occur? At top mid, unfortunate. Soju now left alone. They finally had money for rifles, and that's how you go down. Not even in a gunfight. That can't help the vibes economy. They are spread out quite well. 1 player's still in spawn, going to recover the bomb, or maybe just look to see if someone's going to rotate through spawn, which I don't think we've seen out of Colorado just yet. At least not here on Mirage. And Xboth perfectly dodges that flash and comes out with a good one-tap. DB Cozy getting a little too cozy with his position up in mid-window. Finds himself in a similar situation as Pelusia, both going down with a nice headshot, but RC finds two as well, and that is going to really hurt the chances. Jig Jester with the sick flick finds two. Just a round of double kills.
Now faced with the impossible situation of, do you save and gamble on the idea that you'll be able to pull back a bunch more rounds if you get a rifle? And it does seem that that's what South Alabama is doing. I appreciate that they're going for it. It's like watching the Bills in their last game against the Titans say, we're on the 1 yard line. Let's just fucking go for it. Excuse me. We're getting some great moments out of that result just from the individual efforts. But it is definitely a big gamble because if they lose this round, then you're obviously on match point. And there's not a lot of a safety net for them to deal with that.
No, certainly not. And we have Haratoshi, I believe, just jumping, trying to bait somebody to shoot at him. The bait will not be taken, however. Smoke's going down in tunnels, and just gonna cut them off completely. Finally, we have Jig Jest or DB Cozy in a position where a flank would be possible. It would be good to look for a flank, but you're in such a horrible position if you're South Alabama right now that they can afford to just throw rounds at you. They can't afford to throw bodies. They have 11 rounds on you at this point, being Colorado, so they could do whatever wacky tactics they want, and you just have to somehow play around that if you're South Alabama.
And you see that a little bit on the Colorado side already. You've got Cozy pushing aggressively through that palace situation. He's not going to find anybody because Tiny T is the only one sitting over there by ramp. So they're getting a good spread on the USA side to look for some of these picks, or try to punish some of this aggression so they're not getting flanked too much. But so far, not able to find either one on the other side.
Uh-oh, Tiny T is about to get flanked, and that is going to give them all the info they need to know. Yep, DB Cozy gets it done, and now they know they gotta be either mid or B. DB's kind of in a race right now against Crispy to see who can get that angle first, and they're actually going to respect that one a little bit. Not going to look at T-Apps just yet because they know that could be a fatal loss, and that pick is taken. Just went right back, but Jig Jester moving up through connector finds the pick over onto Xboth, and Crispy falls as well. He loses his duel, and now it's all up to Lapizio at the top of mid. He is all trapped, all alone with the op, and he can't do much, and he will be knifed by RC because there is nothing you can do in a situation like that. Colorado stands firm and keeps themselves with 2 extra map wins for this series, and they did it fashionably well. Much stronger performance than what we saw from them out on Vertigo, or should I say a little lackluster of a performance from what we saw from USA on Vertigo.